Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to all of you. I was told that people had a very sumptuous lunch. And we had one camera, if you see on the left side, which is transmitting direct image on the screen. So we had requested that once I speak, the camera will be looking at you. Anybody snoozing will be evacuated. Let me start with asking a very simple question. No one is left behind. This is very social. And the challenges we have been discussing since morning. Let's take you a little away from the topic. And I want to hold up banks. Can anyone guide me what is the best possible way of holding up banks? Anybody in the audience? Anybody who had an experience with a bank hold up? What should we do? What is required to hold a bank? Rob the bank. That's a very means my topic is social, and we have a lot of anti-social elements who are thinking on the different line altogether. You are absolutely correct. We are talking about holding the banks of rivers so that at least the water can be contained. And you are moving in the wrong direction. This is the theme of International Energy Agency, and we are talking about 2.1 billion people who are without safe water. The goal for this World Water Day is leaving no one behind. Let's be very clear. Sustainable Development Goal 7 and 6 are interrelated. You can't have them in isolation. And if you have to fulfill one, it cannot be done without the other one. Let's talk about the water and energy nexus. Today we had presenters, and we did see that for producing the water, the energy need is more than 20%. You cannot improve one without changing the other. And this calls
It takes a lot of energy to get water from the source to your tap. The U.S. Department of Energy recently issued a report that determined flows of energy and water are intrinsically interconnected. This is the water-energy nexus. And the total amount of energy used to move, treat, and use water in state can really add up. In California, for example, it accounts for nearly 20% of the state's electricity demand. But just how much greenhouse gas emissions comes from the water that we use? That depends on the energy intensity of the water, as not all water is created equal. Was your water pumped from the ground, or did it travel long distances via an aqueduct? Or perhaps you're using recycled water. The management of water is closely linked to the carbon emissions that contribute to climate change. Recognizing this interconnection provides significant opportunities to save energy and water through conservation efforts and reduce greenhouse gas emissions through both water and energy efficiency.
What we are going to see that the nexus is bigger It's not only water and energy, it's food also. When the world is starving, you need more food for more population. What food is looking for is a huge amount of energy to produce. And for that energy, is thirsty for water. You will see that you cannot work in silos and you can leave these three problems and try to cater to them separately. They have to be found a solution which is integrated.
Encouraged by bodies like the World Economic Forum, the Nexus concept has grown in prominence over the past 5 years as a way of thinking about trade-offs and interdependencies between food, energy and water. It is very helpful in guiding thinking about the interlinked nature of the problems of our cities and, crucially, avoiding the pitfalls of silo thinking. Silo thinking is a very common human trait where people try to solve problems in isolated silos without thinking about the wider consequences. For example, imagine you have a stomachache and you want to feel better. If you take a pill that cures your stomachache but gives you a headache, you do not feel better and have just used silo thinking to exchange one problem for another. Similarly, we could make narrow decisions about particular city systems without thinking about the consequences for other systems within the city, or the opportunities of working in a more efficient way together.